let's do this. Trying to feed the viewers. Yeah, man. You know, yesterday I had the Steam Deck news done, and I was supposed to release it, right? Put it out. So I came in yesterday. I came back in, looked at it, and I was like out of it. And I'm like, nah, that ain't. I looked at it, I'm like, nah, that ain't you. This ain't you. So I got rid of it. I started over, so I'm going to redo it today. But anyway, oh, by the way, hello, viewers. Mornings. Another beautiful day. Hope your five senses work. Health and strength is good or excellent. What? So, yeah, I did the news, had it done. But when I looked at it, I'm like, my energy wasn't there. I'm like, that ain't me. That ain't you. You can't put that out, So I came in. I was about to redo it. It was about 10 o'clock last night. I was about to redo it, and I looked at it. And I'm like, you know what? Do it tomorrow. Yeah. So yeah. So but at least I put something out yesterday, though. But anyway, let me keep let me keep going here. What do we got for you Steam Deck fans? Here, listen to this. Linus Torvald would reportedly merge Rust kernel code over maintainer objection. The drama surrounding Rust code with the Linux kernel continues. Christoph Hellwig is the maintainer of the DMA mapping helper and several other areas of the kernel, has been an outspoken critic of Rust code and secondary programming language within the Linux kernel. Says here, Hellwig has been critical of the Rust code for Linux kernel and its long-term maintainability. Today, he's out with another mailing list post where he notes that Linus Torvald mentioned in private he would override maintainer vetoes on Rust code with the kernel. And says here, keep going here. Says here, latest on Hellwig perspective, Rust code with the Linux kernel is below. Some interesting insight from a dissenting view. The thread in full can be found in the Rust for Linux mailing list. I don't think having a web page in any form is useful. If you want it to be valid, it has to be in the kernel tree widely agreed on. It's also state factually incorrect information, e.g. some subsystem may decide they do not want to have Rust code for the timing being, typically for bandwidth reasons, this time and expected, while Linus in private said that he absolutely is going to merge Rust code over a maintainer objection. Then it says in parentheses, he did so in private in case you are looking for a reference. So as of now, as a Linux developer or maintainer, you must deal with Rust if you want to or not. Says here, where Rust code doesn't just mean Rust code. One, the binding look nothing like idiomatic Rust code. They are very different of a beast trying to bridge a huge semantic gap. And they aren't doing that in a few places because they are showed into every little subsystem and library right now. So we have all these binding creeps everywhere like a cancer, and are very quickly moving from a software project that allows for and strive for global change that improve the overall project to increase compartmentalization. That's a big word. It says here, this turns Linux into a project written in multiple language with no clear guidelines. What language is to be used for where? And then 3, even outside binding, a lot of code isn't going to be very idiomatic. Rust due to kernel data structure that instructive and self-referencing data structures like the ubiquitous linked, aren't we doing a disservice both to those trying to bring the existing code base into a better, safer space, and people doing system programming in Rust? And this says, Having worked on code base like that, they are my worst nightmare, because there is a constant churn of rewriting parts from language A to language B because of reason X, and then back because of reason Z, and that is without the usual creative Linux process of in fighting maintainers. Says here, I like to understand what's the goal of this Rust experiment. If we want to fix existing issues with many safety, we need to do that for existing code and find a way to retrofit it. A lot of work went into that recently, and we need more, but that also shows how core maintainers are put off by trivial things like checking for integers overflow or compiler enforce synchronization. Then in parentheses it says, as in the Clang thread sanitizer. How are we going to bridge the gap between a part of the kernel that is not even accepting, get out of there, accepting our relatively easy rules of improved safety versus another one that enforces even strong rules? If we just want to make writing drivers easier, a new language for that pushes even more work and increase the workload and already overworked people keeping the core infrastructure in shape. So I don't think this policy document is very useful. Right now the rules is Linus can force you whatever he wants. Then he says in parentheses, it's his project obviously, and I think he needs to spell that out, including the expectation for contributors very clearly. For myself, I can and do deal with Rust itself fine. I did love bringing the kernel into more memory safe work, but dealing with an uncontrolled multi-language code base is a pretty sure way to get me to spend my spare time or something else. I've heard a few other folks mumble something similar, but not everyone is quite as outspoken. And then it says, almost done here. 1, I've written and worked on a fair bit of user space Rust code, but I am not an expert by any means, so take this with a grain of salt. 2, the idea of drivers in eBPF as done by HID also really doesn't help with that as much as I like eBPF for some use cases. 3, unless Linus force it onto your subsystem, or Dave decides anything touching NVIDIA hardware must be in Rust, of course. And last part here says here, the mailing list thread is in relation to the Rust for Linux policy page, attempting to define the Rust kernel policy. That's the end of the article. Look, by the looks of this, it looks like merging Rust code into Linux. I think it all has to come down to one unanimous decision, and people have to be all agree on it. Like that's the route that they're taking, because by the looks of it, they're talking. He talks about how it increase workload, and meaning that people probably get overworked. So this all comes down to, even though Linus, Torvald, does what he does, everybody in the Linux community has to come to one unanimous decision. Like, okay, this is how it's going to go. This is where we're going. This how it's going to be. This is the decision we made, and then go on from there. So, yeah, coming up with a new language is one thing, but now to use it with Linux, everybody has to be on board with it. that's what I'm getting from this when I read it. So yeah, but another chapter in the Linus Torvald and Linux saga, man. love reading them love reading these articles though. You got 84 comments here, and yeah, you let's see how many pages these comments take up. Let's see here, how many pages? 9 pages, 84 comments. Yeah, let me get a couple of them. Let me see what they talking about here. See what the politician and debaters are talking about. Who is this? Electric Prism said this. I just want to know when Linux will be written in Holy C. And then who is this? V1 said this. Respect experienced kernel developers. Oh no, I can't work with more than one language. And then it says then he says in parentheses, which is obviously isn't true considering how much supporting non-C code is there. And then it said literally any junior full stack developer from fourth world country, yeah, whatever. He put a little emoji, a laughing emoji on it. Anyway, who is this? If I can get going here. Who is this? Shivi said this. He says, so we can't do it perfectly from the start. Let's just not do it at all, since that's a disservice to all involved. Perfectly reasonable and logical. And then he says, so being a kernel lord in your kernel fieldom is all fine, and well until Kernel Emperor pulls the rank. He says, and he put a laughing emoji on it. He says, like I've been saying, all those problems are things that can be solved by committee voting and parliamentary procedure. Yeah, parliamentary procedure includes a code of conduct. He has a point. Let me see if I get a couple more here. Firm said this. Yeah, Temple OS creator dying by hit by train is a sign for those who dare. And then who is this? Volta said this. Yes, unlike you crybabies, can't wait for an API change. I hope maintainers won't fix the mess caused by Torvald, so he and his rusty boys will have to do it themselves. Yeah, these programmers are sounding off in the comment section. See if I can get a couple more here. We're talking 84 comments here. Who is this? Avis said this. Linux kernel stopped being free software in the late 90s or even earlier. It's free as in being open source. It's not free in terms of governance, decision, and maintainership. But again, you can fork it if you don't like it. No one has. Too bad Google has effectively buried Zircon. Anyway, yeah, get a couple more here. Probably get 2 more here. This is 84 comments, you know. And then who was this? Mitch said this. One thing I'd like to see the DMA maintainers discuss is why he holds the position that people like him are overworked, while at the same time he explicitly does not want any more maintainers / sub-maintainers. He also complains that Linux is Linus project and that Linus can block or override anything he wants. But then he says in all black, but that's precisely the behavior this DMA maintainer does to PR in this queue, which does impact work outside his subsystem. And what's worse, this DMA maintainer doesn't have generosity to state his view on the outset. Instead, he let a bunch of discussion looms, which requires his input, while he breadcrumbs the PR devs, only to finally fold his arms and lead everyone to a dead end. And the PR supporter seems quite accommodating and flexible in working things out with the maintainer. I am not saying this maintainer doesn't have a valid a valid criticism. He may or may not, as as far as I know, I'm just saying that it's challenging to accept all maintainer statements at face value when you reflect on all its public statements and actions in view. This is all apparent in original Rust DMA PR thread. And one more. See if I can get one more here. 84 comments, man. That's a lot. Anyway, and these developers are just speaking up though. It says here, who is this? And then Kernel's Crasher said this: I support Rust in the kernel, although I can see a bit of asymmetric here. Modern C++ is bad, but Rust is good. Yeah, ways of Linus minds are never easily understood. He put a smiley face on it. Anyway, well, I think all these developers you know what when I really look at this, it's like they all got to have like a big big meeting with everybody in the community. Like, okay, do they want to go down this route? About getting involved with Rust programming. They got to meet like in a room and just sit and just hash everything out and make a final decision on it and see where they're gonna go from there. That's what I'm getting from all this. So yeah, Linux is changing though, and they got some decisions to make. So yeah, but for now, that's all the news I got to report. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still Star Wars, start your thing for work, dark side. Good on. Peace.